forces will continue to make their contribution to the safeguarding of world peace.
Everyone used to know Britain as the land of the Big Ben, fish and chips, and a booming economy. What was once a symbol of stability and a powerhouse who conquered half of the world.
Stop the coup! Stop the coup! Stop the coup!
UK,
United Kingdom.
UK economy shrunk in the July to September quarter.
UK is already in a severe stagflation.
The UK now faces a mixed bag of concerns: recessionary pressures, rising inflation, and unemployment. On top of that, citizens of the countries they once conquered have almost taken over Great Britain. The question is, how does something get this bad? Britain's economic story is a fascinating one, marked by periods of immense prosperity followed by significant challenges. Once a true economic powerhouse, the nation dominated global trade and finance for centuries. During this golden age, Britain's manufacturing prowess was unmatched. Its steel mills churned out vast quantities of metal. Its shipyards launched colossal vessels that traversed the oceans. And its textile factories clothed the world. The sheer scale of British manufacturing is evident in figures like coal production, which peaked at over 240 million tons annually in the 1950s. London, the beating heart of the empire, was a hub of international trade. The London Stock Exchange, established in 1773, became the world's premier financial marketplace. British banks financed global ventures, and the pound sterling reigned supreme as the world's reserve currency. This economic strength also translated into a high standard of living, making Britain a magnet for skilled immigrants seeking a better life. From engineers and entrepreneurs to artists and intellectuals, Britain's open doors attracted a diverse and talented pool of individuals who further enriched its economic and cultural tapestry. However, the tides of fortune began to turn in the latter half of the 20th century. The heavy industries that had fueled Britain's rise started experiencing a sharp decline. Coal mines, once a symbol of national strength, began shutting down as energy sources shifted towards oil and gas. Steel production plummeted, with factories struggling to compete with cheaper imports.
We've reached the end of the road. In my opinion, we need a hurricane of change at this moment. And then alone, can we start the road to recovery.
The closure of these once thriving industries had a devastating impact on local communities, leading to widespread unemployment and economic hardship. Further compounding these challenges was the rise of new economic powers on the global stage. Countries like China and India, with their vast labor forces and lower production costs, began to undercut British manufacturing. These emerging economies not only competed with British exports, but also started attracting foreign investments that might have previously flowed towards Britain. Adding salt to the wound was Britain's failure to fully embrace the technological revolution that was sweeping the world. While other nations were investing heavily in research and development, particularly in sectors like computers and semiconductors, Britain lagged behind. This missed opportunity to adapt and innovate further hampered its ability to compete in the new globalized economy. The challenges that began to erode Britain's economic dominance in the latter half of the 20th century have clearly continued to cast a long shadow in the 21st. One of the most significant recent developments has been the UK's exit from the European Union, commonly known as Brexit.
Brexit is doing the economy real damage.
Brexit, as negotiated, is frankly a disaster.
While the long-term consequences of this decision are still unfolding, its immediate impact has been a source of economic disruption. Prior to Brexit, the UK enjoyed seamless trade with the other 27 member states of the EU. This single market, encompassing over 450 million consumers, allowed for the free movement of goods, services, capital, and people. However, with Brexit came the imposition of new trade barriers, significantly increasing the cost and complexity of doing business with the EU. A key example is the impact on the automotive industry. The Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders estimates that additional customs checks and paperwork due to Brexit could add up to £1.7 billion annually to the industry's costs. This translates to higher prices for consumers and potential job losses in a sector that already employs over 180,000 people in the UK. Another consequence of Brexit has been the UK's loss of access to the free movement of labour previously enjoyed within the EU.
Britain's economic recovery is being held back by labour shortages, 953,000 in the 3 months to July. Now, these shortages are the product of the pandemic and Brexit.
Stricter immigration policies have made it more difficult for businesses to recruit skilled workers from the continent. This shortage of labour is particularly acute in sectors like agriculture, hospitality, and social care. The National Farmers Union has reported a shortfall of around 70,000 seasonal workers, jeopardizing harvests and impacting food security. Furthermore, Brexit has dented the UK's attractiveness as a destination for foreign investment. Uncertainty surrounding the future trading relationship with the EU and the additional administrative burdens have discouraged many international businesses from investing in the UK. A report by EY, a multinational professional services network, revealed that foreign direct investment projects in the UK fell by 31% in 2020 compared to the previous year. This decline in investment can stifle economic growth, innovation, and job creation. And then came the pandemic's economic scars. The COVID-19 pandemic has unleashed a fresh wave of economic challenges for Britain. One of the most immediate consequences has been the disruption of global supply chains. Lockdowns, travel restrictions, and labor shortages across the world created bottlenecks in the movement of goods, leading to shortages and price hikes of essential items. This phenomenon, often termed stagflation, combines inflation with economic stagnation. The food sector has been particularly hard hit. The price of staple foods like bread and pasta has risen significantly. For instance, according to the Office of National Statistics, the average price of a loaf of white sliced bread jumped by 12% between February 2022 and February 2023. Similarly, the cost of a kilogram of pasta has increased by 10% during the same period. These rising food prices put a huge strain on household budgets, especially for low-income families. In an attempt to mitigate the economic fallout of the pandemic, the British government implemented a series of support measures for businesses and individuals. These included furlough schemes that subsidized wages, grants for struggling businesses, and increased welfare benefits. While these interventions were crucial in preventing a deeper economic crisis, they came at a hefty cost. The national debt has skyrocketed, reaching £2.8 trillion in 2023. This ballooning debt raises concerns about future tax hikes and the government's ability to invest in essential public services. The pandemic has also had a devastating impact on tourism and hospitality industries, which rely heavily on international travel and discretionary spending. Many businesses have been forced to close their doors permanently. Casual dining chains like Byron Burger and Jamie Oliver's restaurant group have filed for bankruptcy, leaving thousands of employees out of work. Smaller independent businesses, particularly in tourist hotspots, have also been severely affected. These closures not only result in job losses, but also create a void in the cultural fabric of communities that rely on a vibrant hospitality sector.
We will halve inflation this year to ease the cost of living and give people financial security.
Rishi Sunak, the current Prime Minister of the UK, is a member of the Conservative Party. He is known for his fiscally conservative views and his emphasis on controlling government spending. This aligns with traditional Tory economic principles that advocate for limited government intervention and a focus on free markets. Sunak's foreign policy has also garnered attention.
I want to express my absolute solidarity for the people of Israel. I've just spoken with Prime Minister Netanyahu to assure him of the UK's steadfast support.
His staunch support for Israel, particularly in the ongoing conflict, has sparked protests and criticism from some advocating for a more balanced approach. While these concerns garner public attention, the economic impact is less clear-cut. One of Sunak's most significant domestic policies concerns immigration. He has implemented stricter immigration rules, particularly for skilled workers. The minimum salary required for sponsorship under the Skilled Worker Visa program has risen significantly, from £26,200 to £38,700. Additionally, the shortage occupation list, which identifies jobs where employers can sponsor workers with lower salaries, has been reduced. These changes have sparked debate. Proponents argue that they will protect British jobs and encourage higher wages for domestic workers. Critics, however, contend that these stricter rules will stifle economic growth by making it harder for businesses to access skilled labor they may not find readily within the UK. This could be particularly detrimental in sectors facing critical skill shortages, potentially hindering productivity and innovation. The long-term effects of these policies remain to be seen. It's a balancing act, ensuring a healthy labor market for domestic workers while maintaining the competitiveness of British businesses in a globalized world. The economic anxieties gripping the UK extend far beyond headline figures like GDP and unemployment. A particularly pressing issue is the intensifying rent crisis, squeezing household budgets and threatening living standards. Millions of Britons in the private rented sector are struggling to keep a roof over their heads as rent continues to spiral upwards, outpacing wage growth by a significant margin. According to recent data, the average rent in the UK now sits at around £1,000 per month.
New figures suggest more than 1/3 of young people are spending much higher proportions of their income on rent.
This translates to a staggering portion of income being devoured by housing costs, with renters in some areas dedicating as much as 50% or more of their income to rent alone. This leaves little to nothing for other essentials like food, transportation, and healthcare, pushing many renters towards financial insecurity. The situation is particularly dire in London, where rents have skyrocketed by over 10% in the past year. This rapid increase forces residents into a desperate scramble for even basic accommodations, often sacrificing quality or location to meet sky-high prices. The impact on living standards is undeniable. Renters are forced to make tough choices, cutting back on essentials or resorting to overcrowded and substandard living conditions. This can have a cascading effect, impacting mental and physical health, educational opportunities, and overall well-being. There are no easy solutions to the rent crisis, but several potential avenues deserve exploration. Rent controls, a policy that limits how much landlords can increase rent each year, have been implemented in some cities around the world with varying degrees of success. Proponents argue that rent controls offer much-needed stability for renters and prevent them from being priced out of their neighborhoods. Critics, however, express concerns that rent controls could discourage investment in new housing development, potentially exacerbating the supply shortage in the long run. Another potential solution lies in increasing the supply of affordable housing. This could involve encouraging the construction of new social housing units, providing tax incentives for landlords to offer more affordable rentals, or converting existing office space into residential units.
We're making it easier for people to expand homes upwards and outwards. We're making it easier to build on brownfield sites with more investment, and we're investing in the planning system. So taken together, that's a practical approach that will mean more people can own their own home.
While each approach has its own set of challenges, increasing the overall supply of housing could help to dampen the rent increases over time. The UK government faces a critical juncture. Without decisive action to address the rent crisis, the dream of a secure and affordable home will remain out of reach for millions of Britons. Implementing a combination of policies aimed at increasing supply, exploring rent stabilization measures, and strengthening renter protections could offer some relief. The time to act is now, before the economic anxieties of today morph into a full-blown housing crisis for generations to come.